And a very good Sunday evening. I'm meteorologist Joe Bartosik coming to you from the Alaska News Source Digital Desk, where at this time every Sunday we just spend a little bit of time to go a little bit in depth with regard to the weather that will be taking place over the upcoming week and take a look at some of the weather players, the elements that are coming together to help shape that forecast. So good to be with you. Congratulations, Anchorage. Officially, we made it to 50 degrees. For a daytime high today. Looking at the day, we did start off with clouds, but at least in the lower levels of the atmosphere, we saw more in the way of sunshine breaking on through those clouds. The higher terrain seeing more in the way of clouds throughout the day today. Temperatures started off into the upper 30s, and then we steadily rose through the 40s throughout the day, and then topping out. So far, our last report, high temperature was 51 degrees at Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport, and that is 204 days after seeing our last day at 50 degrees, which occurred on October 17th of 2022. So quite a long time indeed. All right, we've earned it and we deserved it, but unfortunately it is now tied for the third latest time in the year where we have yet to see the first 50-degree day. Apologize for my interruption here. Just watching my computers. There's a lot going on here, which we're happy to do, but sometimes it just gets a little distracting. So, okay. So again, this is now tied for the third latest that we've seen 50 degrees officially at Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport since records officially began into the early 1950s. So, all right, we crossed that hurdle now finally. That's certainly some good news and something working in our favor. As we take a look at highs across the rest of the region, 55 for Palmer today. It was chilly down along the coast. The Kenai, so we're at 44, 47 up there into Glen Allen, but bulk of the region staying into the lower 50s today. Here are those scattered showers that have a few made their way over the Chugach Range, and we did have some areas of drizzle, at least outside of our Midtown studios during the afternoon hours, and more of that lighter rain is confined to areas around Prince William Sound. We will see the scattered showers on the west side of the Chugach Range diminish overnight. We'll be left with mostly cloudy skies. There's still more moisture coming in from the south and east on into Prince William Sound, thanks to a stream of moisture that continues to work its way on in from the Gulf of Alaska as well as the northeastern Pacific. We are watching the development of another storm system far west across the Aleutians and on into southern portions of the Bering Sea. That will be our next big weather maker as we head on in through the first few days of the upcoming week. High temperatures across the state today, 55 in Fairbanks as well as Fort Yukon. We're actually warming now into the middle and upper 20s along the Arctic coast. That's certainly some good news because it was definitely a very chilly month for you folks as well as for much of the state as well during the month of April, and that too has also bled now on into these first few days of the month of May. All right. Also something interesting that happened today. There was movement on the tripod for the Nenana Ice Classic on the Tanana River there. Let's go ahead and take you to that time lapse from this morning, and we can see that the tripod was holding steady at 7:30 this morning. And then take a look, right around 11 o'clock, tips over. This did the exact same thing last year, and then it just kind of hangs out there again, right around the little mound to the south of where it was standing. And we'll see if there's enough movement in the water underneath that thinning layer of ice to carry the tripod far enough down so that we get the clock to stop. The clock is not stopped. It is still ticking. So if you have guesses here approaching the 8 o'clock hour, or at least officially the 7 o'clock hour, because remember, it gets recorded in daylight standard time rather than daylight saving time. So let's say if it moves down far enough at 8 o'clock this evening, the winning time would be announced as 7 o'clock rather than 8. So just keep that in the back of your mind. We'll of course continue to keep watch on that for you as we head on in through the rest of the evening and on into the morning hours tomorrow. Please check out the ladies and Aaron Morrison for the morning edition tomorrow at 5 o'clock. All right, with the thinning ice on the Tanana River, we're watching breakup season underway now across the interior, where we still have an above average risk of flooding for the Yukon, the Koyukuk, the Kuskokwim, the Susitna, the Tanana, the Chena, and the Susitna rivers. The The rest of the rivers around the North Slope and on into South Central and Southeast stand just an average chance of seeing flooding for the remainder of this spring season. Right now, all the gauges that we were able to measure with courtesy of the Alaska Pacific River Forecast Center, which is part of the National Weather Service region here, or National Weather Service in general, but also the Alaska region, we're not seeing any indications of any significant rising just yet. But you can see, at least from the Alaska Range south and east, many of the rivers south and east of the range are opening up indeed. So there is movement, there is free water flowing. We still, unfortunately, have a lot of snow to melt, particularly across the interior, whereas last report today, actually, much of the interior is seeing anywhere from 70 to 90% above normal snow still on the ground that has to melt, with the highest being around the Fairbanks area, where we're seeing 130% of normal in terms of snow still to melt. So those are big factors to factor in as to when breakup will occur in your particular location. Again, we're seeing many locations across the interior from the Alaska Range north to the Brooks Range, where they are anywhere between 5 to about 9 days later than normal. So we'll continue to see the progression of breakups and then the threat for ice jams and subsequent flooding increasing as we head on in through the next this week and also into next week as well. So again, another thing that we'll be paying very careful and close attention to here at Alaska's News and Weather Source. So we take a look next at where we go from here in terms of what's driving the weather across basically from Russia all the way through Alaska, and actually what's going on in Canada is having a big impact right now. Take a look at that bubble of orange coloring there right near the western side of Hudson Bay. That's indicative of very warm air in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. That's indicative of a broad area of high pressure. So a lot of sinking air, clockwise wind flow around that means that we're seeing weather systems coming up from the south, like the current one that we're dealing with here into South Central with the scattered showers and the clouds. And all that moisture has to then go up and around that high pressure system. It can't go through it. So unfortunately, with another ball of blue and purples that you see, meaning cooler air, trough of low pressure, counterclockwise wind flow around that means that we're going to see that ball of energy rotate its way on through the Aleutians on into Bristol Bay, approaching southwest or moving into southwest and the Alaska Peninsula on into Kodiak as we start off next week. And then we'll see that detach and move off to the south, and then those warmer temperatures over Canada will come in, and we'll see another ridge building in across the North Pacific and on into the Bering. So eventually, by the middle to latter portion of the week, we'll see clouds go away, scattered showers go away. We'll see more in the way of sunshine so that we can really get out there and enjoy those 50-degree temperatures. So temperatures in the meantime will continue to hover into the upper 40s for daytime highs on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then I'll save all the finer details for the 7-day forecast tonight on the late edition. Now, I just do want to show you where we go from as we head into the middle part of May, because temperatures and precipitation are obviously going to have an impact on what we see for breakup season. And over the next couple of weeks, Climate Prediction Center, part of the National Weather Service, is forecasting a trend. This is just a trend. This is not indicative of how cool or how warm it's going to be. Just the darker shades mean the higher probability. So we're seeing a fairly reasonable probability of seeing cooler than normal temperatures across much of South Central. Fair probability of seeing warmer than normal temperatures across the southeast. The entire state for May 13th through the 17th is trending wetter, with a slightly higher emphasis on that, or probability, from basically the Kenai up through the Anchorage Bowl, up to the Talkeetna Mountains, and then east to the U.S.-Canadian border. So looking at temperatures a little cooler and precipitation a little wetter. So a cool, wet start to the spring. Maybe we'll be lucky and have the flip-flop of what we had last year, where we had a very hot, dry late spring and early summer, and then a dramatic shift to wet and cool for the second half of the summer, which is really what everybody seems to remember. But and this year we're having a cooler and wetter start to spring, so maybe we'll luck out, and then for July, August, and September this year, we'll see more in the way of sunshine and not as wet conditions as like what we saw in 2022. That's all in something else's hands right now. We'll just be here to report it on you and help to keep you prepared and safe. All right, I think that does it for me for this Sunday evening. Thanks very much for tuning in on Facebook, on YouTube, on our streaming platforms as well. And we thank you. We appreciate you very much and look forward to doing this again next week. And you can, of course, please join Tracy, Tracy's still hard at work here behind the scenes right now today. Please join Joe Cadat, myself, and Austin Zhang for the late edition tonight at 10. Have a good rest of your night.